I can't tell you how honored I am to be with you this morning. When I think about Providence College, I think about home, and it's lovely to be home. And I'm thrilled to be here because I consider you family. When I went to Providence College, I was in the career exploration of, what college am I going to be looking at? And I was born the baby of 7 in a large Irish Catholic family. And my parents certainly had given me the foundation of our Catholic faith. But when I walked on the Providence College campus, I knew this was the place for me to help mature and develop my faith and grow and mature in my Catholic faith. In addition, I really know in my heart that God has put us on this earth for a purpose. And I really felt that Providence College was going to help me define what that purpose was in my life. So again, I'm so thrilled to be here and share our story. I also came to Providence College. Is the slides going? Great. Thank you. There we are. I came to Providence College also. I was a Lady Friar, and I loved that experience. And playing sports was a wonderful opportunity to develop some lifelong skills. Playing sports and being part of a team, you develop the discipline, self-discipline. You're setting team goals. You're reaching goals, trying to reach for your full potential, overcoming obstacles, and helping teammates. You're also working with diverse groups and learning how to share in those goals. When we were here, so now a little payback to Doris. That's Doris right there holding the trophy. She was a teammate for 4 years at Providence, and Mary Burke, as you know, is a very successful basketball coach at Bryan College. Mary Burke is the one in the Madonna-like bandana. We were very successful our junior year. We were actually number 19th in the country, and we won the Big East title, which was awesome. And wonderful friendships certainly have transpired from this experience. In addition, I always felt at Providence College, so many people were your extended family and mentors. And Father John Peterson, that's still here on campus today, certainly he and Jerry Alamo, he was the associate athletic director, were truly second fathers to me that helped support and guide me through this process at Providence College. When I was a senior at PC, I was a social work major when I started, and I was a senior. I was a probation officer for the state of Rhode Island. And as I was in that internship, I realized the problems were very significant and extremely real. And at that point, I realized I wanted to get in front of the problems to help prevent those serious problems. And I really felt through education, students actually could have a better life. So I decided to go back to school and become an elementary school teacher. I did so, and I had a wonderful, I was a split second, third grade classroom teacher, and working in Worcester Public Schools. I am a product of Worcester Public Schools, born and raised in our city. There's a bidding list, and I got bumped by a senior teacher, and then I was asked to be a severe special needs teacher. I loved that opportunity and was a severe special needs teacher for 5 years. And at the same time, I was coaching at my alma mater, Doherty Memorial High School, in both field hockey and softball. And I was the assistant basketball coach at Holy Cross. Sorry, but it was in the city at Holy Cross with the women's basketball team. And it was during this time that a gentleman named Mr. Gerald Creamer approached me. And in Worcester, at the time, there was over a 15% high school dropout rate in our city, which was astronomical. And at that time, the then superintendent, Dr. James Garvey, asked Jerry to open up a program for the city, and he said, you can hire 3 people. Jerry approached me and asked me to be one of the original staffers to invite students back, gang members as well as school-age mothers, students that have come in from a different country, and we opened up the Skills Center. What an incredible opportunity for me. Originally, I didn't see myself in that type of role, but Jerry Creamer had seen something in me that I hadn't yet developed. But I was so happy and thrilled that I followed his lead and believed in him and the project. I worked there for 5 years, and we lowered the dropout rate to less than 5% in our city, and it was such incredible, meaningful work. I then was asked to be the school to career coordinator for our city, placing students out in internships, summer jobs, placing 2,100 kids in summer work, really to keep them actively engaged in exploring potential career opportunities. I missed being in the classroom. I missed being with students. I missed being in a school itself. So at this point, I decided to become an assistant principal at Wachusett Regional School District. Wachusett's in Holden, and it was my first experience ever working in a suburban setting. Wachusett is the first regional school in Massachusetts with 2,000 students representing 5 towns. And it was during that time when I walked in, I couldn't believe the rigor. I couldn't believe the expectations. The expectations in a suburban setting was so much higher than I was experiencing in the city that it was probably one of the most meaningful experiences that I ever had. And it wasn't until I got a phone call April of 2006 where they asked me to come back to the city and be the next principal of Worcester Technical High School. Now, most people would have been very settled. You have a very successful high school. That would be a wonderful career. Very successful students. The school was doing great. But for me, it was a wonderful opportunity to come home. But let me share what the setting was. Worcester Technical High School was one of the first vocational schools ever built in our country. The building was built in 1908. The infrastructure wasn't there. It was the lowest performing high school in our city and the poorest performing vocational school in our state. In addition, NEAS, the accreditation agency, actually was going to close our facility in the 1990s for the antiquated facility in poor performance. The community, led by Ted Coughlin, cheering business and industry, rallied around the importance of career and technical education, and Ted Coughlin led a $3 million campaign. Our community and our state got involved and built this brand new $90 million facility. For me, again, people were like, that is an incredible, awesome responsibility. The spotlight's going to be on you. And quite frankly, when I accepted, the faculty was not that inviting. They were cautious, because I was the first non-vocational instructor ever to be the principal of their school in a 100-year history, and I was the first female ever to be the principal as well in the entire school's history. But I respected vocational technical education. I think it's a very successful educational model. I think that students, especially urban students, can really relate to authentic learning experiences, real-world application. The teachers right now with this brand new $90 million facility had their tools of the trade to truly train and educate students for 21st century careers. So I very happily accepted the position. Then what ended up happening at Worcester Technical High School, I took what I learned at Wachusett and I said, we immediately need to double the number of honors courses. There was never advanced placement ever in the school. Started putting AP classes in to help support the students in their technical programs so they could graduate both career and college, and so they would be ready to be successful when they graduate. But in addition, when you work with teenagers, at some point in their lives, they have self-doubt, and in even some cases, self-sabotage. So what I wanted to do, as I spoke to the students, is really encourage them to reach their full potential. I had never ran on a basketball court at Providence College without the coach giving us a pregame talk. No matter who we were playing, right, SJ? SJ was a captain on the team. She was a senior when I was a freshman. We had a pregame talk, and if we were playing Old Dominion, if we were playing UConn, if we were playing Tennessee, it didn't matter. We ran on that court believing that we were going to win and we were going to succeed. So taking that experience from Providence College, I wanted to do this for our students at Worcester Tech. 1,400 inner city students. People thought it was crazy. I wanted to, and it took me about a year to find a donor that would support this. I needed to find someone that could really talk to our kids, because when I did, they said, Miss, what do you know? You're a white woman that drives your Volvo home to the house that you live in. And they're right. I wasn't taking the city bus to the projects in our city. So Liz Murray was the perfect person to come in and speak to our students, because she trumped whatever obstacles that they had in their lives. Liz was homeless in New York City. It certainly trumps living in the projects of Worcester, Massachusetts. She had 1 high school credit. She dared to dream, went back to school, graduated from high school, applied to Harvard, and the senior year I was able to secure monies to have Liz come to speak to the students at Worcester Tech. We read her book, we watched the movie together as a school. The goal was for our students to feel loved, to feel supported, and truly reach for the stars, because there was so much potential, and we want all of our students to find out what their purpose in life was. It was such a success, I didn't expect this to happen the next day. The students arrived and they said to me, "Miss, who's our speaker next year?" Well, that ended up being a little bit difficult. I said, how am I going to find the money again? Well, I was fortunate enough that the donor's wife was really into the movie Homeless to Harvard, and they actually attended the event. So they were on board to actually fund this event every single year. The next year we had Dr. Ben Carson from Gifted Hands. We watched the movie. You know, Ben's story is great. He grew up in the projects of Boston and became a world-renowned neurosurgeon. The following year we had Erin Gruwald from Freedom Writer's Diary. Chris Gardner from The Pursuit of Happiness, you know, the Will Smith movie, was our next speaker. The Pact, these are 3 students from Newark, New Jersey in 9th grade. In Newark High School, there's probably less than 10% graduation rate in their high school. They made a pact in 9th grade that not only were they going to graduate from high school, they were going to become doctors. And they came and spoke to our students as doctors. And last year, we had the incredible General Colin Powell actually come to our school and be our pregame talk. The pregame talk, actually, I should tell you, is 2 weeks before our students sit for the MCAS exams, the AP exams, and when they're making career and college decisions because graduation is quickly approaching. And with General Powell, he was incredible. Not only did he speak, we actually hire 40 buses, and you can see that in the middle slide. We have a police escort, we shut the city down, and we go to the Hanover Theater, which is a historical theater in our city. The students will listen to the speaker, which was General Powell, for an hour and a half, and then we go back to the school. The general came with us. He wanted to meet each and every one of the students. He wanted to shake their hands, talk to them about their education, their training, and what their future plans were. He spent another 2.5 hours with us walking the facility. We had our celebration. And this is really why I put this PowerPoint together, so you could see firsthand the interaction that he had with our students. He even took selfies. He did. It was great. He was very approachable. What I didn't know about General Powell is he's very much a Vokie, a vocational person. He works on his own cars. He loves tinkering with Saabs and Volvos. He does his own plumbing and knows how to run electrical wire. So he seemed like he was pretty much the jack of all trades, and he was talking the talk with the students and our staff. Here again, interacting. So now we have this culture, rigor, relevancy, expectations, and the Providence College pregame talk. And amazing things were happening in 7 short years at Worcester Technical High School. This chart says it all. The top row is our students' English Language Arts MCAS scores. When we opened the facility in 2006, it was 27%. In 2013, it was 92%. That's a 240% increase in students' passing rates. And in mathematics, we went up 140%. With these kind of stats, unfortunately, in our country, the achievement gap continues to widen and expand. And unfortunately, Worcester Tech is one of the few schools, unfortunately, having the results that we were having. So we started receiving national attention. But I need to remind you, 8 short years ago, they were talking about closing the school for its performance in its antiquated facilities. It took a community that rallied around the importance of vocational technical education, and we always made decisions what was best for kids. I got the call, and I was selected as the National Principal of the Year. I felt extremely uncomfortable and very embarrassed, because I believe, and I know in my heart that it does not take one person, it takes a team, and there is no I in team. I know that seems like a slogan, but it's a fact. And I felt really uncomfortable with that spotlight on me. The National Association of Secondary School Principals actually flew each of the state principals from middle school and high school to Washington, D.C., where we had a beautiful banquet with Secretary Duncan. They brought the 3 finalists in middle school and high school to a back room to meet Secretary Duncan. I was really uncomfortable, I was awkward, and I was kind of standing in the back, and they're like, Sheila, you need to speak with Secretary Duncan. What could I possibly say to Secretary Duncan? It's finally my turn. I walked up to Secretary Duncan, extended my hand, I shook his hand, I said, Shelia Harrity, Providence College, Lady Friar, class of '87. I did, and I went, what did I just say? You know what? Providence College is in the core of who I am and what I am, and an athlete is in my core as well. I knew that Secretary Duncan actually was a basketball player at a similar time at Harvard University. This picture ran in the Telegram on the front page the next day. And when I got back to the city, people were like, you were lecturing him? You were telling him exactly what your educational points were? Yeah, no. We were talking about how many mutual friends we had at Providence College. That's the truth. I was thrilled that all of a sudden the spotlight was taken off me and put on the school in our community where it belonged. We had 350 business and higher ed partners leading our school, helping us keep the finger on the pulse of what's expected from business and industry to make our students successful. The United States Department of Education gives a U.S. Blue Ribbon Seal. It is the biggest honor, like the Oscars or the Emmys. U.S. Blue Ribbon Seal is the Emmys in education. As you can see, 140,000 total schools from kindergarten through grade 12, public, private, parochial, charter, innovation. 98 public, 38,000 private in private schools. Worcester Tech was one. 0.2% of the schools in our country, and Worcester Tech was one of the schools. This was an incredible honor for our community and certainly a tribute that we were doing things really well. We knew our students actually used the bus, so we created a Worcester Tech Blue Ribbon bus so that that would be one of the buses that they took home every day from school. I had shared with Secretary Duncan, please come to our school. He said, my schedule's so busy. And I said, Secretary Duncan, I know you go back to Harvard, and I'm sure you check out the boys' basketball team. They're pretty good. And he said, I do. And I said, well, we're only 45 minutes away. He actually held a town hall at our school, showcasing our school as a national model, encouraging other cities and states to replicate this successful model to address the achievement gap. When Secretary Duncan got out of his SUV, he tossed me this basketball. Again, it all comes back to Providence College. It was a blue ribbon sealed basketball with his autograph. And that connection, that relationship that we started that one night in Washington has certainly continued. At the town hall, we certainly represented and had various members of our community speak and share in the school success. We also had the boys' basketball team captain give him a Worcester Tech jersey. Last year, Secretary Duncan played in the NBA All-Star Game, the Celebrity All-Star Game, and was the MVP. And he wore the number 80 on his jersey because that was the national graduation average, and we'd never been to an 80% graduation rate. So we gave him the Worcester Tech 95. He hopes that the state will get there someday as well. You know, last year was a year of celebration, but also some lows as well. 2 weeks after this event, my mother needed to go in to have open heart surgery. She was 82 years old. She's 83 now. At the time, she was 82, and we were in Brigham and Women's in Boston, and she was having a 6-hour surgery. And as you can imagine, I was very stressful, and I said to my brother John, I'm going to go for a walk. I need some fresh air to clear my ear, but I promise every block I'll check my phone. In case there's a mayday, I promise John I'll run right back. I checked my phone on the first block, and in my email, in the subject line, it said, question from the White House. Well, I'm really not that emotionally together that day. I'm so emotionally drained. I called the number. I'm on Huntington Ave, you know, the street, the busyness and so forth. Ambulance are flying by. And the woman on the other end said to me, oh, Principal Harrity, I'm so happy that you returned our call. The White House is abuzz about Worcester Tech, and the president would like to know if he could be your graduation speaker. I couldn't stop crying. I was so overwhelmed. I was so emotionally drained and obviously accepted. I went back to the emergency room, and my brother thought I was having a really good cry over the stress of my mother. And the Secret Service had told me I couldn't tell anybody for a couple weeks till we worked it out, which was an incredible secret to try to keep. So President Obama selected one school in the entire country to be their commencement speaker, and he had selected Worcester Technical High School. I'll remind you again, 8 years ago, this school was not going to be. If it wasn't for Ted Coughlin in our community, vocational technical education, that building was going to be closed. Our community rallied around the importance of education, and now we're their national model. The president came to our graduation. Air Force One actually landed in the Worcester airport. He spoke at our graduation. He stood by our students. He was, there's that expression, the weight of the world is on your shoulders? Well, I really believe that when President Obama says it, he actually means it. He has the pressures of the world. But for that 1 hour and 15, 20 minutes that he was with us, he was fully engaged, talking, interacting with the kids, loving it. At one point during the ceremony, I hear, Sheila, Sheila. I turned to my right and I said, yes, President Obama? He says, you still playing ball? You gotta be kidding me. He was actually informed that I was a ball player at Providence College back in the day and was conversing about basketball, and we were kibitzing about how we're getting old and the joints are starting to hurt, which was just totally incredible. We gave him a blue ribbon jacket just like any sports team would. He interacted. At one point, I hugged him. I don't know what possessed me. At one point, I actually thought the Secret Service might deck me. And as I hugged him, I said to him, President Obama, you need to know we're on your team. This picture captures the moment after. He started laughing at me, and he said, Sheila, you don't think I know that? That's why I'm here. When we were planning the graduation, the president was actually supposed to just stay and have remarks and then leave. And at one point I had shared with the Secret Service and the White House logistical team that we pride ourselves in having a graduation all about our kids. It's not about the adults. They've already heard from me. It's about the families in our community celebrating their success. They said, if you can promise us that, the president will stay and give each 303 of our students their diplomas and shake their hands. It was the most powerful thing I've ever seen, probably in my life, besides the birth of my 2 children, that's for sure, that are here today. But it's up there as a memory that certainly I will remember forever. He shook hands. If you wanted a hug, you got a big bear hug. Students will remember. A lot of times you never remember who spoke at your high school graduation. They'll never forget. If you wanted a firm handshake, you got it. Every single student, faculty were hooting and hollering through this whole entire experience. We moved the graduation to the DCU Center, and almost 6,000 people celebrated not only our students and staff's success and what happened at Worcester Tech, we celebrated together as a community. The President of the United States came to Worcester Tech because we have this graduation rate. 96.8% of our 1,400 inner-city youth graduated in 4 years. And if you see the subgroup populations, unfortunately, in many urban educations, it's not this. And we're so proud to say that at Worcester Tech, all of our students are graduating to be successful. So here are a few of our accomplishments in the last 8 years, but I stand here today to say to you, if Worcester can do it, anybody can. It was a group of people that came together as a community for a common goal, and that goal was to educate and train our next generation of workers. It's an investment in our students that is so vitally important. And I'm so thankful to have this opportunity to come back to Providence College and thank you personally for the impact that you had on my life and helping me develop into the person to extend the skills that you taught me here at Providence College. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you.